I'm Kayla Morno, 31 years old. I'm a second grade teacher in Tempe, Arizona, and last year I finally walked out of a 7-year marriage I thought would kill me. What happened with my sister afterward left a scar no apology could ever fix. The last time I saw Derek's face was through the narrow crack of our condo door. He stood barefoot on the marble tile wearing that smug gray hoodie I hated, the one he refused to wash because it reminded him of college. His voice was calm, but that made it worse. "You're really doing this?" he asked, arms folded, eyebrows raised like I owed him one last explanation. I tightened my grip on the duffel bag. "Yeah, I am." He scoffed, "You think you're strong enough out there on your own." That line almost made me turn around. But I didn't. I took a breath, I stepped out, and the door clicked shut behind me like the final beat of a war drum. Outside, the Arizona heat hit my skin like open flame. I remember blinking into the sun, my heart racing so fast I thought I might throw up. The Uber driver didn't say a word, just popped the trunk. That was fine. I didn't want to talk. I wanted to disappear. Ashley's townhouse was 15 minutes away. On the ride, I kept tracing the seam of the ring-shaped callus on my finger, the pale, empty imprint where my wedding band had lived for too long. I still hadn't told my mom. I hadn't told anyone, just Ashley. She answered the door in pajama pants and a tank top, her red hair tied in a messy bun. She didn't say a word, just pulled me into her arms. And for one fragile second I thought, I'm safe now. I moved into her second bedroom that night. The space smelled like lavender oil and dry shampoo. There were crayon marks on the wall from her daughters, twin girls, 6 years old, born 2 months after my miscarriage. That first week I barely slept. Every night I lay in the dark, trying not to cry too loudly, trying not to flinch at every vibration from my phone. Ashley made spaghetti, the girls drew me welcome cards, she gave me fresh sheets and told me to take my time. "You need to reset," she said, pouring wine into a chipped mug. "We'll figure it out." And I believed her. 3 months later, I was deep in the divorce process. My lawyer, Chelsea, godsend, pit bull, miracle worker, found assets Derek had hidden, accounts I never knew about, investment funds I hadn't touched. When she showed me the breakdown of the settlement, I nearly dropped the folder. $370,000. Half of his net worth, half of our supposed partnership. It didn't feel like revenge, it felt like freedom. But it also felt dangerous. "Be careful," Chelsea warned. "He's already angry, he might get erratic." Ashley agreed. "Let me hold it for you," she said one night, curling up beside me with popcorn and an episode of Love is Blind. "Just until things cool down, you know how he gets." I hesitated. She nudged me with her elbow. "Come on, you trust me, don't you?" And God help me, I did. I transferred it. The shift was subtle at first. Ashley's new SUV, a pearl white Lexus way beyond waitress budget, got a great deal, she claimed. Then the vacation, a week in Cancun, beach pics, cocktails, a caption that read "Manifesting Abundance Sun Money." I laughed at first, then I looked closer. The Venmo receipts. The bank statements. The bounced check I tried to write for a security deposit on a new apartment, denied. Insufficient funds. I asked her directly. She rolled her eyes, "Don't be dramatic." But she stopped leaving her phone unlocked. She started staying out later. She stopped saying thank you. One morning, I found a letter in the mailbox addressed to both of us from the bank, her name as the primary, mine as the sub, balance $163.87. I waited for the girls to leave for school. And then I confronted her. She was standing at the kitchen sink, wearing my old hoodie, sipping cold brew through a glass straw. "I know," I said, my voice cracked, but I kept going. "I know you spent it." She didn't turn. She just wiped her hands on a dish towel and said, "I was gonna tell you." "Tell me what?" "That you stole my future." Her shoulders stiffened. "I saved your future. You were a wreck, sleeping all day, crying on my couch. I fed you for months." "That wasn't payment," I shouted. "That was love, or at least I thought it was." Ashley turned then, eyes bloodshot, mouth curled into something bitter. "You think this was easy for me, watching you fall apart while I worked double shifts? You think I didn't deserve a little help?" My hands shook. I trusted you. Well, maybe that was your mistake. I left that night. I slept on a friend's couch for 2 weeks. Then I scraped together enough to move into a studio that smelled like mildew and old sadness. I had no savings, no credit, no chance of recovering the money until Chelsea said 6 words that changed everything. We can file for civil fraud. I didn't think it would work, but I was done being afraid. I filed. We subpoenaed her accounts. We traced the wire transfers. She claimed I gave her verbal permission, but she had nothing in writing. I had months of text, receipts, messages. In court, she wore beige and cried. I didn't. I told the truth. The judge ruled in my favor. She owed me the money in full, couldn't pay. Her house, the one I had lived in, the one she bought with my stolen freedom, was frozen, then handed over to me. I stood on her porch again, 1 year after I left Derek, 1 year after I thought I'd lost everything. My name was on the deed now. But I couldn't bring myself to knock. Because no amount of money would undo what she took. And no legal victory would heal the wound where my sister used to live. I stood there with the key in my pocket and the weight of 370,000 heartbreaks on my shoulders. And I whispered, "You can't steal family." The wind didn't answer. But the silence felt like truth. I didn't go inside. Not that day. I just stood there on the porch like a ghost revisiting her own life, fingertips brushing the doorframe that used to feel like home. The curtains inside were drawn. The same curtains I had helped her hang 3 summers ago, light gray linen with gold threads the twins picked out at Target. I could hear faint music through the wall, a pop song with too much bass, the kind Ashley played when she was feeling reckless. I took a breath. Then I walked back to my car. 2 days later, I came back. This time, I parked down the street, engine idling. I wasn't sure why I did it. Maybe some small part of me still wanted to believe she'd answer the door with an apology, a check, something real. Instead, I saw the twins, Mia and Riley, standing behind the living room window, arguing. Riley was holding a juice pouch. Mia had her hands on her hips. They looked like tiny versions of who Ashley and I used to be, fierce, expressive, tangled in emotion. I hadn't seen them in weeks. Then Mia turned. Our eyes met. She froze. Then she mouthed it, a whisper through the glass. "Aunt Kay." My chest cracked. I didn't wave. I just backed up and turned away. But I barely made it 3 steps before the door flung open behind me. "You lost or just stalking us now?" a voice drawled. Travis. Barefoot, shirtless, beer in hand, the walking cliché of a man with nothing to lose. His hair was longer than I remembered, greasier. He grinned at me like he knew exactly how powerless I felt. "I need to talk to Ashley," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "She's not home." "Then tell her she has 18 days left." He scratched his chest. "Maybe she'll leave, maybe she won't. You can't evict kids, you know." It wasn't just a cheap shot, it was a threat. I walked away. But that night I couldn't sleep. Not because of him. Because of them. Mia's face, Riley's frown, the way Mia's hand had pressed against the glass like she wasn't sure if I was real. The next day I called Chelsea, my lawyer. "I want to offer a deal," I told her. "Let Ashley keep the house if she repays some portion of the money, a payment plan, something." Silence. "Then, Kayla, she spent it. It's gone. Even if we reversed everything, she has no equity to buy it back. You'd be trading ownership for a promise she can't keep." I knew she was right. But knowing didn't make it easier. I thought about how Ashley used to braid my hair when we were little. How she covered for me when I snuck out at 15. How she bought me my first bottle of wine after my miscarriage and told me, through tears, "You're still whole. You always will be." That version of her, the version who protected me, she was gone. And the one left behind was barely holding it together. I came back again 3 days later. This time, Ashley answered the door. She looked wrecked, her face was pale, her eyeliner smeared. She held a cigarette she wasn't smoking and wore a hoodie I recognized from my college years, my hoodie. We stared at each other for what felt like a lifetime. Then I said, "I need to talk." She stepped outside and pulled the door closed behind her. We stood on the porch, same porch I had walked out of the night she called me insane. Same place I used to sit with the twins eating popsicles under the Arizona sun. I sat on the steps. She stayed standing. I didn't want it to end like this, I said quietly. Ashley scoffed. You didn't want what exactly? Your money, your revenge. I wanted my life back. You made that impossible. She stared at me. I was drowning, she said finally. And you came in with your sad eyes and your victim card, and everyone just handed you sympathy. I had 2 kids, no help, and barely any sleep. So you stole from me. Her voice dropped. I borrowed. I blinked. You lied. You didn't even notice at first. I noticed, I just didn't want to believe it. The air between us thickened. She finally sat beside me. Not close, but close enough. I used to look up to you, I said. Even when you were a mess, you were always brave. You left home first. You protected me. But this isn't brave. Ashley's jaw clenched. I didn't mean to hurt you, she said after a long beat. I panicked. I thought I could fix it before you found out. But you didn't. No. We sat in silence. Her cigarette burned down to ash in her hand. I have nowhere to go, she whispered. You had somewhere, I said. You had me. I stood. You have 18 days. Ashley didn't argue. She just looked at the sky like it held answers she hadn't found yet. Then so quietly I almost missed it, she said, I miss having a sister. I didn't reply. I walked away. That night just past 10 p.m., there was a knock on my door. I opened it to find Mia standing there. Alone. She clutched a backpack and a crumpled stuffed giraffe. Her hair was tangled, eyes red. Aunt Kay, she whispered. Are we really getting kicked out? I pulled her into my arms. She started crying before we made it to the couch. That night, she slept curled next to me, holding my hand like it was the only thing anchoring her to the earth. And in the morning, Riley showed up too. Neither of them asked if they could stay. They just did. By the end of the week, both girls were sleeping at my place more than Ashley. It started with sleepovers. Then late pickups. Then excuses. Mia had the flu and Ashley was working doubles. Riley forgot her violin and begged to stay after practice. I didn't push, I didn't ask questions. I just made the couch into a bed, set out clean pajamas, and filled bowls with chicken noodle soup the way Ashley used to when we were kids, extra salt, too many carrots. They never asked when they had to go back. And I never said. Then came the night Mia called me Mom. She was half asleep, fever still sweating through her t-shirt, and I was holding a cool washcloth to her head. I was humming, I didn't even realize it, just some soft, automatic tune that came out of me like breathing. And then she said it. Barely above a whisper. Thanks, Mom. Her eyes stayed closed, her fingers curled around mine. She didn't even notice. But I did. I sat there frozen, hands still on her forehead, heart pounding like someone had cracked open a locked door inside me. I didn't correct her. I didn't cry. I just whispered, "You're welcome, baby." And I stayed right there until morning. When I told Ashley, I expected rage. But she didn't even flinch. We were standing in my kitchen. She'd come by to drop off some school forms and extra clothes for the girls. Her hair was flat, no makeup, a coffee stain on her shirt. She looked small. Like life had finally worn through the last layer of pride. She called you that? She asked, blinking. I nodded. I think it just slipped. Ashley leaned against the counter and let out a shaky breath. They're starting to ask for you more than me, even when I'm home. I didn't say anything. She stared at the fridge at a picture Riley had drawn me, her, and Mia on a roller coaster. No Ashley. I don't know what to do, she said. Then say that, I told her. Say it to them, don't pretend everything's fine. Ashley was quiet for a long time. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out a crumpled envelope. Inside was a check. $8,500. Everything I have left, she said. You don't have to take it, just I need you to know I'm trying. I stared at it. Not for the money. For what it meant. She was surrendering something. Maybe not control. But the mask, the performance, and for the first time since this entire thing started, she looked like my sister again. That night I stood in the girls' shared bedroom, listening to their soft snoring and stared out the window at the stars. It wasn't the life I planned. It wasn't the clean, calm escape I imagined the night I left Derek. But it was real. It was mine. And I wasn't alone anymore. 2 weeks later, Ashley showed up again. This time, she had a manila folder in her hand and tears in her eyes. "I went to a lawyer," she said, voice trembling. "I want to give you temporary guardianship for real, like legal." I blinked. "I'm not giving them away," she added quickly. I can't give them what they need right now, but you can." I sat down slowly. "Are you sure?" She nodded. "They already see you that way. I can't pretend I don't, and I'm tired of fighting ghosts." She placed the folder on my table. "I'm moving," she said, "just across town, smaller place, no Travis." I exhaled. She looked up at me. "You were always the soft one," she said. "The good one. I hated that about you, but I needed you to be that for them." I didn't answer. I just reached for her hand. And she let me hold it. For the first time in years, we sat together like sisters. No accusations. No lies. Just shared silence. Later, I tucked the girls in and told them the news. That they'd stay with me for a while. That their mom loved them. That they'd still see her. Riley nodded solemnly. Mia beamed. "I knew it," she whispered. "We're staying forever." I kissed their foreheads and whispered back, "As long as you want." Outside, the moon hung low and full above the roofline. And inside, for the first time in a long, long time, I felt full too. I started seeing them everywhere, traces of the life we used to have. The magnet art gallery on the fridge. The glitter trail near the back door, where Riley spilled an entire jar of craft glue. The tiny pink sock wedged between couch cushions. A Barbie shoe in my cereal box. It wasn't just clutter. It was proof. Proof of the kind of mother I had become without ever intending to. Proof that they saw me not just as a safe place, but as a home. Ashley called less often. At first, it was every few days. Then once a week. Then silence for nearly 10 days. I didn't panic. I didn't push. I just waited. When she finally texted, it was a single line. "I need time, thank you for loving them like you do." I stared at it for a long time, no punctuation, just raw. And in that moment, I felt something unexpected. Grief. Not for her absence. For the version of her that could have been. The sister I thought I had. The mother I wanted her to become. Riley and Mia's birthday came around in early fall. They were turning 9. I offered to plan something small, a few friends, cupcakes, nothing big. Mia grinned, Riley hugged me. But the day before the party, Riley got quiet. At dinner, she poked at her mac and cheese. "Mom said she's doing something too," she mumbled. I looked up. "What do you mean?" "She said we'd have a party at her place too, with a bounce house and pizza, but she didn't say you could come." I forced a smile. "That's okay, you can celebrate in both places." But my heart dropped. Saturday came. The girls were with Ashley for the afternoon. By 4 p.m. I hadn't heard anything. I sent a text. No response. So I did the thing I promised myself I wouldn't do. I checked her Instagram. And there it was. Stories. Pink and gold balloons. A bounce house. A DJ. Laughter, kids dancing, glitter everywhere. In one shot, Ashley raised a plastic cup toward the camera, lip gloss perfect, captioned, "Barbie bash for my baby girls." I wasn't in a single frame. I wasn't mentioned once. It was like I never existed. The girls came back later that evening, sugar-hyped and sunburned. I helped them change into pajamas, washed the pink confetti out of their hair, and tucked them in without asking questions. But as I pulled the blanket over Mia, she whispered, "I wish you'd been there." And that was all it took. I barely made it to the kitchen before the tears came. Not dramatic sobbing, just quiet. Deep. The kind of crying that comes from somewhere old and hidden. The kind that says I'm tired of pretending this doesn't hurt. 2 days later, I got a letter in the mail. From a law office, Ashley was requesting formal visitation boundaries. Her attorney claimed I was confusing maternal roles and overstepping agreed guardianship expectations. It wasn't a custody suit, but it was a message. She wanted to remind me I wasn't their real mom. And she wanted to reclaim the version of herself she still believed in. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I sat the girls down that night after dinner. They were working on homework, math, and a science worksheet about cloud types. I turned off the TV. "I need to talk to you about something," I said gently. They both looked up. "There may be some changes," I said. "You might be spending more time with your mom again." Mia's face fell, Riley's jaw tightened. "But I don't want to leave," Riley said, voice sharp. "It's not about leaving," I said. "It's just something we have to work through together, as a family." Mia got up, climbed into my lap. "Do we have to go back?" "Not unless we have to," I whispered. That night I called Ashley. She didn't answer. So I emailed. Then I mailed a letter. 3 days later she texted. "I'll stop, the lawyer was a mistake, I was just angry, I'm sorry." I didn't know whether to believe her. But I knew what I could believe in. The girls. Their love. Our bond. Something that existed outside the courtroom and custody agreements. Something real. Then one morning, I got a letter in the mail. But not from Ashley. It was from Riley. Handwritten on pink paper, folded twice. "Dear Aunt Kayla. Thank you for always showing up. Thank you for remembering our favorite snacks and coming to our plays and helping with scary dreams. I'm glad you're mine. Love, Riley." Inside was a photo strip from a mall photo booth, me, Riley, Mia, all making goofy faces. She must have found it in my drawer. At the bottom, she'd drawn a tiny heart. Inside the heart came Mom. I placed it on the fridge, right next to their honor roll certificates. And that night, as I brushed their hair and packed their backpacks for the next day, I finally let myself whisper it aloud, just once. "I'm their mom too." And I believed it. The day of Riley's school play, the air in Tempe finally broke its summer heat. There was a slight breeze, the kind that smelled faintly of dry earth and sidewalk chalk. I parked early, a bouquet of daisies wrapped in purple ribbon on the passenger seat. I'd picked them up because Riley once said daisies looked like the sun had eyelashes. I sat in the car for a minute longer than I needed to. Not out of nerves, but because I didn't want to hope too much. The auditorium was half full when I found my seat, third row aisle. Parents shuffled in behind me, carrying phones and snacks and energy drinks. I spotted Riley's teacher near the stage, directing kids in cardboard trees and glittery wings. I scanned the crowd for Ashley. No sign of her. I tried not to read into it. The lights dimmed. And then there she was. Riley, Tree 3, stepping onto the stage with oversized brown sleeves and green leaves taped to her arms. She looked right at me before her line. "Here is my shade," she said. And I smiled so hard it hurt. She beamed, then scanned the crowd. And I knew she was still looking for Ashley. After the show, I waited in the cafeteria, bouquet in hand. Mia came running first, glitter smeared across her cheeks. "She did so good," she shouted. Then Riley appeared, all shy smiles and tangled branches. I handed her the flowers. "You remembered," she whispered. "Of course I did." She hugged me tight. And I felt it again, that invisible thread that tied us together, tighter every day. Then I saw Ashley, standing at the edge of the crowd. Alone. She approached slowly, sunglasses perched on top of her head, eyes puffy. She didn't speak until the girls ran off to grab cookies. "I got here late," she muttered. "Travis had a thing." I nodded. "You missed her line." Ashley flinched slightly. "She was looking for you." Her jaw clenched. "I'm doing my best." "I know," I said. "I'm just saying." She noticed. A long pause passed between us. Then she asked something that caught me off guard. "Do you hate me?" I shook my head. "I don't hate you, I just don't trust you." She stared at her feet, then back at me. "I was wrong," she said, "about a lot." I didn't reply. Because I knew she didn't just mean the money. Outside in the parking lot, the girls piled into her backseat, cookies in hand. Ashley lingered beside her car, reaching into her purse. She pulled out a key. It glinted in the light. "The house," she said. "I don't want it anymore, I can't carry it, but you made it a home, you always did." I stared at the key, my heart thudded hard against my ribs. She pressed it into my palm. "I'm not asking for anything," she said. "No favors, no payback, just take care of them." I blinked back, the sting in my eyes. "You sure?" I asked. She nodded. "You were always the better sister." That night I drove back to the house. My house. The porch light flickered like always. The same uneven step creaked under my foot. I walked up to the mailbox, pulled it open. Inside was a single envelope. No stamp. Just a note, Ashley's handwriting. "Thanks for the years we got right, don't erase all of it, eh?" I didn't know what to do with that. So I folded it carefully and placed it in my nightstand. Some things don't need to be answered. Only remembered. The girls moved in the next week, officially. Ashley signed the paperwork, notarized and witnessed. I had full guardianship for the year. Trial run, she called it again. But we both knew. It wasn't temporary anymore. Raleigh rearranged her posters. Mia picked new sheets. I hung their drawings in the hallway like art in a gallery. Every room filled with their laughter, their arguments, their music, their mess. And for the first time in a long time, the house didn't feel like something I won. It felt like something I'd earned. A month later, I found a package in the mail. From Ashley. Inside, a photo album. On the cover, for the girls from the both of us. I flipped through. Photos of birthdays, sleepovers, school pickups, Christmas mornings, me and Ashley, me and the girls, them in Halloween costumes, grinning from ear to ear. One photo stopped me cold. It was from the summer I left Derek, Riley, and Mia sitting on my lap, all three of us laughing. On the back of the photo, in Ashley's scrawled writing, it said, "You saved them and maybe you saved me too." That night I put the album on the shelf. And I sat down at the kitchen table with the girls. Riley showed me her science fair proposal. Mia quizzed me on multiplication. And I thought, this is it. Not revenge. Not justice. But peace. The day I changed the name on the mailbox, it was windy. That rare kind of Arizona wind, soft but constant, like the world was gently nudging me forward. I stood out front with a screwdriver in my hand and a brass plaque in the other, etched with my name. Kayla Morno. It should have been just metal, just letters, just hardware. But my hands shook as I fastened the screws into the rusted frame. Each twist was louder than it should have been. Each motion felt like turning a page that couldn't be unturned. The mailbox used to say the wards. The girls had stuck the glittery letters on themselves. Riley had picked purple. Mia picked gold. I remembered them fighting over who got which side while Ashley and I drank wine on the porch, pretending like we had everything figured out. Now the names were gone. Just mine remained. And it didn't feel like a victory. It felt like closing a book we never finished. Inside, the house was finally quiet. The girls were at school. The walls still wore faint marks of their childhood, pencil lines where they measured height, paint smudges from a glitter accident Mia still denied, the ghost of stickers peeled off too fast. Ashley had come by one final time to pack up her last box. She didn't stay long. Just stood in the doorway for a moment, eyes sweeping the room like she was trying to memorize it all. Then she looked at me. "Tell them I'll call next week," she said. I nodded. She left. She didn't look back. That night, I lit a candle in the living room. Lavender vanilla, the scent Ashley always used. And I sat there cross-legged on the couch, watching the flicker. There was no anger left. Just a slow, aching gratitude. For survival. For second chances. For the quiet. The girls came home full of stories. Riley had aced her math test. Mia said a boy called her a unicorn at recess, and she couldn't decide if it was an insult or not. We made grilled cheese and tomato soup. We watched a movie. We danced in the kitchen to old pop songs and laughed until Mia spilled orange juice on her socks. And when it was time for bed, they brushed their teeth without complaining. Tiny miracles. Before I turned out the light, Mia asked, "Can we put the stars back up on the ceiling?" I smiled. "Yeah, baby, we can." Later, as I stood in the hallway between their rooms, I stared down at the carpet, thinking about all the steps I'd taken to get here. From the cracked floor of my old condos, to Ashley's guest room, to the courtroom, to the moment Mia first called me mom. Every step had been one of pain, then courage, then something that looked a lot like love. A week later, I got a letter. From Ashley. No envelope, just folded, dropped in the mailbox, the one with my name on it now. "Hey, I hope the girls are okay. I'm in counseling now. Real counseling, not the kind you lie through. I'm working weekends and saving. It's not much, but it's clean. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect anything. Just thank you for taking care of the best parts of me when I couldn't." I read it 3 times. Then I folded it neatly and slid it into the scrapbook Riley gave me for Christmas. I didn't reply. Not because I was angry, but because some answers come in the living, not the writing. Months passed. The house filled with the rhythm of 3 lives learning how to coexist. Homework battles, bedtime hugs, cereal spilled at 6 a.m., hairbrush fights, belly laughs, and once, a midnight pillow fort. One night, Riley fell asleep on the couch with a book in her hand, and Mia curled up against my shoulder. The glow of the TV cast gentle shadows across the room. I didn't move. I didn't dare. Because in that moment, I knew I had arrived. Not at a finish line, but at the beginning of something beautiful. A few days later, Mia brought me a school worksheet. She needed help with family tree homework. She pointed at the top. "Can I put your name here?" she asked. My throat tightened. "I'm not your mom," I whispered. She tilted her head, "But you kind of are." Then she smiled. That smile unburdened, bright, whole. That was the moment I understood. I didn't need to be their mom by blood. I was already their mother in every way that mattered. One night, while locking the front door, I glanced down at the mailbox. The brass plaque caught the moonlight just right. Kayla Morno. It didn't just look like a name anymore. It looked like a promise. A vow. A chapter sealed with grace instead of bitterness. And when I turned around, the girls were already waiting in the hallway, pajama-clad, sleepy-eyed, asking for just 5 more minutes of snuggle. I smiled. 5 more, I said. But we all knew. They had forever.